Good afternoon and welcome to BYJU'S exam prep. Welcome to your Tuesday editorial analysis. My name is Savitri Krishnamurthy. I teach English and Logic at BYJU'S. Now, as you know, in the past few weeks, we've been doing an editorial analysis every Tuesday. The purpose of this analysis is to improve your comprehension, vocabulary, and grammar skills. So we will look at each of the options, each of the slides of the PPT for 40 seconds, 30 seconds. That's about 2 paragraphs. Hello Nidhi, hello Sonali. And then today I may actually make it ask you to read a little faster. All right, your names are again a little lower. Saket, is it? Hello. So now I will show it to you for 30 seconds today. Let's see how you do. All right, good afternoon, all you good people. Okay, are you ready to start? 30 seconds per slide. Read a little faster and see if you can still understand. All right, try to get the main points. Don't feel rushed. Just because I said 30 seconds doesn't mean, oh, she said 30 seconds, I should read. Not like that. I will keep it for 30 seconds. You read whatever you can. After that, we'll summarize it together. But that sense of urgency should tell you should read a little faster. All right. Today, I have taken the editorial from the Indian Express. Yesterday's editorial. All right. Let us start. 30 seconds. Okay. Next slide. I will restate and rephrase, summarize the passage for you. Can you make the chat font a little bigger? Thank you. Afternoon, Harshita. All right. Today we are reading a little faster. All right. We're reading a little faster then. I'm showing it to you for 30 seconds only. Let's see how you do. All right. Okay. Now, let's say this is a cat passage and you see this as the first question. Which of the following captures the key ideas of the passage about India's stewardship of the G20? Do you answer it immediately or do you go back to the passage? Main theme you can answer without going back to the passage, but these key ideas you need to go back to the passage and quickly jot it down. Or if you've seen the question as you saw the passage, then as you're reading the passage in your rough paper, you jot down the key ideas. Clear? So I'm going to go back to the passage. All right. Too much text and too little context, the surest way of misreading major diplomatic events. there were three long-term trends that stood out from India's stewardship of the G20. First was that the divisions among great powers have deepened, but India managed to prevent them from derailing the summit. All right. So Delhi Declaration was made with a moderate language. The language was such that it was acceptable to Moscow and Beijing, while also emphasizing that Ukraine has territorial integrity. So the unity of G20 was preserved in the Delhi Declaration because they made it in such a way, they framed it in such a way. The second one, why did the West accept this dilution? Why did the Delhi Declaration not condemn Russia? And the language was tempered down, and why did the West accept it? Because it recognized that its benefits lay in doing that. It wanted to become closer to India and the global South countries. Third point is India has gained a lot. It has got strategic gains from the G20 summit. It read the Ukraine situation correctly. It recognized that the Ukraine war had an impact on the countries of the global South, and so it addressed those concerns in the G20 summit. It also accepted African Union as a full member and talked of multilateral development banks and the need for finance for climate and sustainable development. All right, so that was the passage. I have summed it up. Which one do you think gives the key ideas of the passage? India's stewardship of G20, condemnation of Russia, concerns of the global South, and China's economic policies. Or India's stewardship of G20, compromise on Ukraine, China's economic policies, and addressing of global South concerns, addressing of concerns of the global South. Producing a compromise language on Ukraine, addressing the concerns of the global South, offering alternatives to China's economic policies, and agreement to build a new economic corridor. Or divisions among great powers, compromise on Ukraine, global South, and new economic corridor. I have seen three answers for D. Is this a main point? Was this at any point given as a main point is my question for all those who marked D. Let's go back. Sorry. 1. India's stewardship of G20. All right. Okay. In this, what are the points that came out? India realized the divisions among the great powers have increased. It didn't want the G20 to be affected by it. Is this a main point? So what did it do because of that? It did not condemn Moscow and China, or it did not condemn China. It made the Delhi Declaration in a language which was acceptable to Moscow and Beijing, because of which the unity of G20 was preserved. So here the language of the declaration was toned down. This is the effect. Why toned down? Why? Because of the deep divisions, but India's stewardship or leadership did. So deepening divisions among the global South, among the major nations is not, the passage is not about the major nations. The passage is the declaration that happened. The language did not openly condemn Russia. The language was in such a way that the declaration was acceptable to Russia, China, and to the West also. That is the first part. The language was toned down. crafted the declaration in such a way that the language was stolen. That is the main point. Second part, why did the West accept the dilution? Because it realized that China is a bigger threat, so it wanted closer relations with the global South. It realized China is a bigger threat than India, so because it wanted better relations with the global South, it kept quiet. Okay, when it looked at it, condemning Russia to ho gaya hai, pehle bhi ho gaya hai, what's the point? Third is that Delhi understood that the Ukraine war has caused problems, so it a wide range of activities including the development. Where did that corridor, how come I didn't read it? The economic corridor. Was there one more passage? Oh, one paragraph is missing, is it? No. The global corridor passage, no wonder you marked D. The global corridor paragraph has been omitted. Alright, so it did agree on building a new economic corridor. This part was not, you did not, was not given. I'm sorry. That paragraph itself is missing. I wanted to keep it short. That is where we made the mistake. Alright, so without that, this would have been, I now agree why you got it wrong. I'm sorry. Alright, so compromise language on Ukraine, concerns of the global South and African Union will come here. Okay, dilution of the Delhi Declaration would have been the first paragraph in that case. Alright, okay, now I understood. Which of the following, now I understood why you all marked D. I was a little surprised, but then it is my fault. Accept it. Alright. Which of the following can be inferred about the resolution in Delhi? The first paragraph, if you remember. First paragraph and also a little bit later. China and Russia did not allow a repetition of the events and resolution at Bali. India and the West yielded to Russia and China on Ukraine in the interest of the greater good. India's year-long stewardship managed to prevent the G20 agenda from getting derailed by petty issues. The moderate language of the resolution was universally acceptable and allowed discussions on a range of issues. What can you infer about the resolution? A, B, C, or D? You know, the last few lines I wish I had added. That would have made life a little more complicated. I think in somewhere there was a mistake with editing. Any other answer? Everyone is saying D. Anyone else who thinks there might be something else which is okay? This likely, Nidhi says it's likely to be B. Why is it, which one? Between B and D, which is closer? I had done a variation of this. I had done another editorial on the same thing. And there the main point of that article was that India and the West yielded to Russia. But here he didn't say that. He said, why did the West agree? He did not yield. West decided it was more useful for it if it didn't condemn Russia, if it accepted, जो भी declaration में लिखना है लिखो, we want to be part, we want to have negotiations with the global South. India decided anyway in the United Nations, the resolution, there was this resolution condemning Ukraine and condemning Russian invasion. So India didn't want the entire thing to be derailed. So West yielding to Russia is not a question. Alright, India yielded to Russia and China because it realized that it is for the greater good, but the West yielding to Russia. Again, which of the following can be inferred about the resolution. This answer is more about the resolution rather than anything else. So between B and D, what India did with relation to the resolution is B, but what exactly was the resolution is D. So again, between B and D, D is a better language. That what India did is, okay, you don't want, it yielded. It did. The first part of this is correct. India yielded, not the West. West agreed to the dilution of the language. Okay. All right. Next one. In the very first line, the author says, too much of the text and too little context is the surest way of misreading major diplomatic events. Now think of what the author said after that and decide what is the author actually trying to say. In what context has he said it? In the context of G20 and the G20 declaration. So what do you think he is indicating? You know the tone of the rest of the passage. So based on that, what is the answer to question 3? What is the author indicating in the first 2 lines? Too much text and too little context is the surest way of misreading major diplomatic events. Those poring over the words of the G20 declaration on Ukraine risk missing the real significance of the summit. A number of major diplomatic events are misread and misunderstood by people. It is sure that Indians are reading too much text with too little context in diplomatic events, or diplomatic events and resolutions have too much text and too little context, leading to misinterpretation. What do you think is the answer? Pratyusha thinks it's A. Gautam thinks it's A. What about the rest? Do you think they're right? Suket thinks it's D. Sonali thinks it's A. Nidhi D. Lots of answers. All right, A or D. Let's go back. Too much text and too little Let's go back. See, whenever you are given a quote and you don't understand what it is saying, this is the beginning. Too much text, too little context. This is the best way, the surest way, the fail-safe way of misreading diplomatic events. Then what does he do? He talks about the 3 takeaways of the G20 summit. So he is positive. So what is he saying? Those who are reading too much into the words of this are at risk of not understanding what exactly the summit achieved. Right? Now, a number of diplomatic events are misread and misunderstood by people. The question is, the quote has been given in the context of G20. We don't know if the author is talking about all diplomatic events or all major. He's only talking about the G20, and your inference would be in the context of G20 and the resolution. So you can't say that a number of diplomatic events. After all, the author is talking about only this. So B is out. Indians are reading too much text with too little context. In diplomatic events, it is this part. They are reading too much into the G20 declaration is what he is saying, true. But it is sure. Definitely we are doing, that is not what he is saying. He is saying those of you who are doing that, you are missing the actual significance of the summit. So diplomatic events and resolutions, he is not talking about all diplomatic events and resolutions. You understand? That's generalizing. So only A is talking about specifically the G20 declaration. Only that could have given you a clue that it's A. Because other things are talking about other events, and an inference is something that is based on what is given. You don't know. Maybe the author would mean that every time this is what happens. But he's not said it here and we can't guess that. Understood? Therefore, the correct answer is A. Those people who are reading too much text, not looking at the context, will misunderstand or misinterpret. like what they are doing for this summit. Okay? All right. All of the following, so this is a specific idea question. For this, if you don't remember, you have to go back to the passage quickly, to the relevant part. That's why we read the passage first, quickly but thoroughly, so that you know what is the author saying, one idea after the other after the other. Roughly, if you remember, West's acceptance of the dilution of the text, you will suddenly say, why did the West accept the diluted version? You suddenly remember that somewhere in the second paragraph, then you go back to it. So the question is asking, all of the following have been cited as reasons for the West's acceptance of the dilution of the Delhi Declaration, except, let me take you back to the passage so that you don't sit and guess. If you guess, and especially if you guess in CAT, you're in trouble. All right, because they know that you will guess, and so the answer options are made that way, which is why I'm taking you back to the relevant part so that you don't guess. Why did the West accept the dilution of the Bali language in Delhi? It recognized it was losing the narrative on Ukraine in the global south. It was losing its influence. It was not persuading effectively. That's what losing its narrative means. I should have given that as a question. Although a majority of the developing countries voted with the West on deploring the Russian invasion of Ukraine, deploring means harshly criticizing, and demanded its immediate reversal, they were hesitant to back the Western sanctions against Russia. They wholeheartedly condemned, but they were hesitant on the sanctions. Why were they hesitant against Western sanctions? Because they would get affected by it most. They advocated a greater focus on the impact of the Ukraine war on their societies, which were already battered by the COVID pandemic. COVID pandemic hua ki nahi that this headache has come. Economy anyway is down after the COVID pandemic. They rely a lot on Russian fuel. They rely a lot on grains. And here, after the pandemic, this war has started and the West wants sanctions. Who is being affected most? The countries of the global south. Rather than make Ukraine a make or break issue at the G20 summit, the West chose to work with Delhi and the emerging powers to devote considerable attention to the concerns of the global south. So the West did not want to make it a make or break situation. It would not have had a face-saving excuse. So it said, let's not get on there. Let's focus on working with the countries of the global south. The US willingness was also to compromise was also rooted in the appreciation that China represented a more dangerous and enduring threat to the West than the Russian challenge. So here, suddenly you find there is a bigger enemy than Russia sitting there for the West, and that is China. Got it? So these are the reasons. All have been mentioned except after you read it, it becomes very easy, right? Nidhi is already answered. I don't know if she's right or wrong, of course. What about the rest? Quick. Vanshita think it's C. It's an except question. Didn't want to make it a make or break issue. Rather than make it a make or break issue, it wanted to focus on concerns of the South. So these two are there. See, Russia and China refused to do is Russia and China's reason. No. Why did the West agree to it? It doesn't tell you. What were the reasons for the West accepting this dilute thing? Russia and China objected to it, so India diluted it. But the West accepted the dilution. Why, he is asking. So Russia and China refusing to let the language be strong is not a reason for West accepting that. They could have said, no, if the language is diluted, we will not be part of this summit. Right? But they didn't do that. He is asking why. So C is the cause for the language to be diluted. But it's not a reason the West accepted it. Right? Understood? So 4 is C. Alright. Which of the following, this is the cat version, always to make you think. What is it? Which of the following, if false, supports the author's argument? So you have to look at a statement which is in line with the author's statement or against, which if false. So you look for an option which is exactly opposite to what the author said. Then if it is false, it will support the author's line of argument. So the options which by themselves in the form given to you support the author's line of statement won't be the right answer. Correct? That's the logic you use. You don't use it in the exam, you end up marking the wrong answer. Agar galat hota, to which one is the correct one, he is asking. If it's false, which one would support? But yeah, my tech team is asking you to hit the like button. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thumbs ups. One at least you give. Suddenly in the middle this message pops up. Very distracting, but it's okay. Alright, quickly, question 5. Which one, if false, supports the author's argument? Very easy way to eliminate it. Very easy way to eliminate it. Anything which is exactly what the author said is not the right answer. Anything which is opposite of what the author said is the right answer. So we're getting lots of right answers now. 5 answer is D. Because the author has said that it is for now. For now there is a unity. At least for now. So he is not likely to accept that it will endure for long. Now if this goes against, then it's the author has said this. The author has said this. The author has said this. Therefore, these cannot be the answers. Now, he says the US feels that the global south will help it counter China. Okay, so if it is not significant, it will go against what he has said. Therefore, D is the answer. All right. This is a comparison question. In GMAT, I used to hate comparison questions because you really had to read it, close your eyes and think. And in most cases, in comparisons, we just say whatever we feel like. We don't try to remember the grammar part of it. So you end up making a little bit, quite a few mistakes in the comparison question. So the moment I saw this sentence in the passage, I loved it. I said, okay, let me see if my students can identify the part with an error, or maybe there is no error. Question 6. Actually, there are 2 errors. There are 2 errors. By mistake, 2 errors have crept in. Okay, let me tell you. Let me just say. Okay, I have made one correction. I have made one correction. Alright, now tell. Why is it, those of you who've marked B, what is the correction? How will you correct it? Please give me the correct expression. What should be just the correct phrase or a missing word? How will you correct it? So, parallelism error was removed, and in the process, so what happens with these autocorrect things is you ignore, and somewhere you think, acha, by mistake also you accept it's gone. Or sometimes even the person who's making the PPT decides if too many times something points out this is wrong, they accept it. That's where I think this mistake happened. In Bali, correct? In Bali, what happened? They condemned Russia. in Delhi, Russia didn't allow this condemnation to happen. Okay. Now, parallelism wise, Bali has to be compared with Delhi. If you're saying unlike the situation in Bali, Russia and China refused in Delhi, refused the people in Delhi, the delegation in Delhi, the people who are writing the declaration in Delhi to let whatever. The meeting in Delhi that happened, the meeting in Bali, unlike what happened in the meeting in Bali, in the meeting in Delhi, China and Russia refused to let the G20 adopt a declaration condemning Moscow's invasion. The sentence in the passage, the sentence is correct. I just removed, and in the process both got removed. Got it? Unlike in Bali, unlike the meeting in Bali, in Delhi, Russia and China refused to let this resolution be passed. That's what the sentence is saying. Understood? This is a case of parallelism and this is a case of correct comparison. Comparisons have to be logical and parallel. That is the thing. All right. The word stewardship, what part of speech is it and what does it mean? What part of speech is stewardship? Noun, verb, adjective, and what does it mean? Under New Delhi's or India's stewardship, it's said, right? So what do you think it means? What part of speech is this? Name of a person. What part of speech is this? Captaincy. Captaincy. Adjective कैसा हुआ? Under Delhi's leadership. ये how is it an adjective? What noun is it describing? Leadership, captaincy, stewardship, followership, if there is such a word, are all nouns. It means leadership, care or management, but it's not an adjective. Adjective is this. This is the adjective. Delhi's leadership, good leadership, bad leadership, right? So it's not an adjective. It's a noun. Got it? Resounding. In this, what did they say? How is it used here? In the context of the passage, what is the meaning of resounding? Whenever you are asked a vocabulary question, don't go with the meaning of the word as you know it. Always here. India recalled the resounding condemnation of Russia's actions at Bali. So what is the meaning of resounding condemnation? What is the meaning of resounding in that? In Bali, there was a Bali declaration where there was a resounding condemnation of Russia's actions in Ukraine. So what do you think is the meaning of resounding? Loud, reverberating, tremendous, resonant. In the context of the passage, do you think it was a verbal condemnation? Was it the sound of 100 countries saying? So all are synonyms of resounding. If it is about resounding cheers, when Kohli scored a century yesterday, that means the sound. These A, B and D refer to the sound. In a declaration, actually instead of tremendous, if I had put great, you would have known. There was a huge condemnation. They used strong words to condemn. Alright, so we're not talking of a voice condemnation that hundreds of people shouted that Russia, down, down. Aisa nahi hua. It was in the declaration that they did it. So the declaration was a resounding condemnation. Tremendous, great, the kind of words they use. The criticism was harsh. If I had written harsh there, you would have got it immediately. You got it? Alright? So resounding here means tremendous or great or harsh, not related to sound, so we won't use loud, reverberating, resonant. Loud is a close option. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that session. Henceforth, I'm going to show you each of the slides for 30 seconds. If required, we will summarize again because you need to increase your urgency, that sense of urgency in reading passages. Alright, so want to join our courses, join our free trial, enroll in our CAT 2023 and other test series. Be a part of our toppers group. Alright, new batches are there, crash courses. Most important, join our All India Open Mock. The next one is open from 8th to 17th September. That means right now. Right? We will have the open mock once it's done, the window is done. There will be attempts, there will be solutions, there will be discussion of solutions. Fantastic feedback we've got from students. Join in. If you're intending to join our source courses, join our scholarship test first. The next test is on 10th of September. Alright, done already. Okay. Alright. How to manage test prep and job or studies. Find out from Srinivas on 17th September, 11 a.m. No better person to do it, discuss this with you. And join our social media handles, any one of them or all of them, to get notifications, to know what are the sessions available, to know us better. Alright, I'll see you again tomorrow. Those of you who are taking the XAT exam, Xavier's aptitude test, I will be doing a session at the same time on decision making. Okay, what is the decision making section like, how you have to attempt it and answer it. I'll take 1 or 2 caselets from past year papers and we'll discuss the strategy. We'll discuss what to expect in the decision making section and how to maximize your marks in it. If you're taking the Xavier's aptitude test, I hope you are. Do join me at 12 tomorrow. Otherwise, join me again next week with one more session on editorials. Until then, bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you for joining the session.